Boom. Hopefully that didn't scare you. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inner Storyteller with your boy, Soul Expression, humblest of hosts, if you will. I am very excited to get into today's topic. We are talking about karma. Karma, cosmic consequence, God's law, how manifestation actually works in the universe. We are talking about natural law today, good people. And if you are here, you should know that you are in for real conversations about natural law, religion, the good, the bad, and the ugly, money, anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated from the shadows by forces that do not have our best interests at heart. And we are not bashing faith systems here. We are not calling people names for following or ritualizing themselves into a religion. We are simply examining. We are examining the psychological affects and effects of the stories we have the most faith in, the ones we have the most stake in. And that examination has to sit right alongside an honest look at the current human condition, which is slavery, good people. Government is slavery. And the question that we have to keep coming back to, at least on this channel, is what can actually be improved with a proper understanding of the inner storyteller and how it works. And if any of that makes you a little uneasy, a little angry, or uncomfortable in any way, please be assured and reassured that although you are encouraged to stay, maybe confront some of those feelings, you are indeed welcome to leave at any time. You are not held hostage here. The only caveat, though, is that you can't leave until you hit that like button. There's something about hitting the like button that changes everything. Like, even, on the topics that we're going to get into today, the like button is literally like above all of these things. So I hope you understand that. If you come here, you're here for real conversations, but above all that, there is this thumbs up indication that you should go ahead and tap. Now, good people, what exactly are we getting into today? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Today, we are getting into a discussion about a dirty word for many Christian religionists, whom I do respect, of course. And that word is karma. Now, karma actually only means my doing. And it means my doing because the understanding of karma, the understanding of the cosmic consequences to the moral weight of our actions in relation or direct relation to the goals and objectives that we set for ourselves and that we set as societies at large is an understanding of what you cause to happen. Therefore, the understanding of karma is the understanding of one's own doing. And it's funny to me sometimes when I think about you know, how rigidly against the word karma, perhaps because it comes from another country, or perhaps because some people that use the word karma are of a different belief system about God than you are, or whatever. But there's a big rigidity around the word karma and around the notion that morality is not necessarily only dictated by a sky daddy kind of figure that is from his central kind of consciousness in time, just dishing out punishments and tests to everybody based, like, oh, you did something, now I have to do something else in response. But also, I knew you were going to do that. And so it's not really a response, it's really a planned thing. But, I'm going to call it response because that supports the notion that I'm doing it after you've done something consciously because I love you so much. The notion that morality or the laws of morality are kind of baked and caked into the very fabric of consciousness, the very fabric of the known universe, along with the physical laws, the laws of thermodynamics, all of the, the dynamic laws of the universe. Along with those laws, that there are laws governing the consequential response mechanisms, right? The responses and consequences of our actions is objectively a you know a law. It's laws in the universe, not necessarily, or at least not only, a sky daddy in the form of the creator or in the concept of the creator dishing out cosmic responses one by one. Not to say that God couldn't do that. Obviously, an omniscient and omnipotent and omnipowerful being can do anything. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Now, I always caveat these discussions with the reminder of what I say in my intro. We are not here to bash faith systems or to name call people for having a religion or anything like that. We are here to examine the stories that we have the most faith in and talk about, you know, some things. That's all. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I think is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire landscape of spiritual and philosophical conversation, which is karma. Okay, I want to talk about karma not only because certain religionists and religions hate it, but because people, even in spiritual circles, misunderstand it. So I don't mean karma in the social media sense. I don't mean the bumper sticker version where, good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, right? Some cosmic accounting ledger. um, I'm talking about the real thing. So we're going to get into what karma actually is and what it actually means for, in understanding what it is, what that means for how we experience our lives and why it matters for the inner storyteller work that everyone should be engaged in. And I want to start with something that came from a philosopher that I love and listened to for well over probably 100 hours so far in my lifetime. His name is Alan Watts. Alan Watts. He has a one of a kind speaking voice, and he was a one of a kind philosopher. Really was. He blended the best of all the philosophies that he could get his hands on in some of the most eloquent speeches, presentations. He was also a writer, but most people know him through hearing his voice. And he said something. He said something very simple that has never left the back of my mind since I first heard it. And that was that karma means my doing. because it got me thinking. It was like my doing, karma, this phenomena that I previously was thinking was, like in rap we say karma's a bitch, right? Or in, just like a street kind of street language lingo, we say karma's a bitch, right? And that it is sort of, it feels like karma is a thing that if I do something bad responds to me doing something bad. It's like an external thing. You don't think of it as my doing, right? You think of it as like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and if when something happens, we go, damn, that's just my luck, or something. It's like, you know, it's this external thing. We don't see our own role in the cosmic response. We don't see our own accountability in the way that we talk about karma. So karma is my doing. That's it. It's not my punishment, right? It's not my debt. It's not the cosmic consequences of my past actions suddenly arriving to teach me something or correct my behavior. It's my doing. That's what karma is. What am I doing right now as a whole being, including my past, as a whole being, including my potentials for the future, and including my thoughts, feelings, and current actions? What am I as a whole being doing? And when I heard that, I knew it was true. I just did. I knew it was exactly aligned with what I needed to hear to connect to something true that's beyond just words. It resolved something that I had been trying to figure out, you know, and I wasn't able to really name it. And there's a couple different ways that we'll look at this. And the first one is the problem that connects to time. And this is very important. Very, very important. So, before we get into what karma actually is in depth, I want to address something that most people kind of get backwards. They get it right, but they get it backwards, including me, until I examined it or until I remember. When I say, if I were to say to you, I do such and such now because I did such and such then. I used to do this, so now I do that. When I describe my behavior as a sequence moving from past to present, I'm describing it backwards. And you say, so. Are you telling me that I'm getting younger? No, stick with me. It's it's not because I'm wrong about the facts necessarily, like some of the facts, right? It's not that I'm saying something that's factually incorrect. It's that the model of time doesn't match how time is actually experienced by the individual telling the story. Okay? We are conditioned to see time moving in the wrong way, and that makes us say the facts in a way that suggests something that isn't true or isn't how we experience it. So here's what I mean. We are conditioned to see time as flowing from past toward present. History somehow produces now. What happened then? What happens causes what happens now, right? The past is the cause and the present is the effect in the way that we understand it. That's the story. That's the incorrect story about time that most people are running, and it feels so natural. that it seems like a description of reality more than a model for reality. And I know I got you at the edge of your seats in anticipation for, well, how does it actually work? So here we go. Here's the honest observation of how this thing actually plays out. And you're gonna see, as soon as I say it, you're gonna be like, oh, but I still don't know how to think about it the right way. Watch. It's the funniest. The funniest thing. It's the greatest thing about awakening is awakening to the nature of time. It's one of the fun things that everybody kind of on the awakening journey goes through at some point. So here we go. The only experience of time that any human being has ever had is from now to the past, or from now to potential. Not from now, excuse me, not from the past to now. We only experience it from now to the past. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The only experience of time any human being, including you, dear viewer, ever has is from now to the past. The past doesn't exist anywhere except in the present. The present moment of consciousness interpreting past events is where the past exists. I'm not saying the past doesn't exist, by the way. I'm saying it doesn't exist separate from now, even though we talk about it and have that model running in our head as if it does. Your memory of what happened 10 years ago is not the past arriving in the present. It's your present consciousness organizing and interpreting a story, an incomplete story at that, about something that happened to or around you. The past itself is only accessible right now, as is potential. When you think about tomorrow, when you make plans, when you worry about what might happen, when you imagine what you want, you are having those thoughts, those feelings, and those sensations now. And you are drawing meaning from your thoughts of the memory or potential. And even when you think about the future, when you interpret your thoughts and feelings and sensations about the future, you're doing that from the memory of your thought about the potential. You're still interpreting the past. So the time, the way that we experience time is still always, whether we're thinking about the future or thinking about the past, or experiencing some sort of flashback vision, whatever it is always right now looking at and interpreting the past, meaning the graph goes from now to past, not from past to now. So, this should change everything about how we understand both behavior and karma. Okay? And of course the possibility of like changing yourself for the better through time, right? Another way to put that changing yourself for the better through time, or not to put it, but just to expand what we're talking about right now. They say change happens over time. Change actually happens instantaneously. When you make a major change in your life, when does it happen outside of the direct moment that you decide that it happens? Right? Anything beyond that, after that point, whether you regress and you come back, or you stick to it and it's hard and you keep getting tested and pushed toward the old habits and you keep triumphing over the tests, whatever. All of that, first of all, is all happening in right now moments, but also all of that is the movie of the change that already happened when you made the change. Change is instantaneous. Does not take time. Right? It takes decision. And then if you regress, that also happened instantaneously as soon as you decided you give up. So, let me use a little bit of an image. Now we're going to look at this through, we're going to try to create an image, a mental picture, and put some clarity to this theory here. Imagine you're laying down, you're laying back, right? You're on your back, you're outside, you're right outside of your tent. You know, you have a comfortable little bedding of some kind right outside your tent. It's the middle of the day. You're laying down. You're just kind of waking up out of a nap. Your head is to the side, and suddenly you see the head of a king cobra go by your face. And then you see its body. And you don't move because you feel like if you move, you're going to scare it and it's going to bite you. So you stay completely still, and in your head, you know, as you're not even moving your eyes. You're just staring at this, you know, powerful animal slither by you. You see the head first, you see the body, and you're like in your head thanking God that you're too tired, that you were too tired to move when you first realized what it was, and that it's just going. It's not stopping, it's not checking you out, it's not smelling you. It already did that probably a mile away, and it's just going by, doesn't really care about your existence, right? First, you would see the head. The head would come by. Then the body would continue. Eventually, you would see the tail, and then you would see nothing. The head of the snake is is a representation of now. The tail of the snake is a representation of the past. The whole length of the body between them is everything that has happened in this moment. Now, does the head of the snake get categorized as an event separate from and causing the event of the tail? Does the past, meaning the tail, produce the present? Of course not. The answer is no. So I don't want to make it a trick question. The answer is no. The head and the tail are not two separate things in a casual sequence. They are one continuous thing, one snake, whose movement is a function of a whole, right? The whole organism's consciousness is moving both the head, or all three, the head, the body, and the tail. One consciousness is moving that snake. The snake moves as a whole. The head and the tail move together because they are the same being expressing itself simultaneously. This is what karma actually is in the life of an individual, or when you look at the karmic cosmic consequences of a society. It's not a casual sequence where past actions produce present consequences like dominoes falling. Okay. The whole movement of a life from now, reaching back through everything that has happened in the now, seen as one thing together, the whole movement of a life, that is how you interpret karmic consequence, or that is the lens through which you go to interpret, you approach karmic consequence or karma, right? Caused not by the tail producing the head, but by the consciousness of the whole snake expressing itself in the present moment in a movement. My doing is my karma. My karma is my doing. The whole of me. Not what was done to me, not what I owe the universe or earth or something for what I did before. What I am doing right now is my karma. My karma is my doing. with the full weight of everything that I am right now, right? The doing and the consequence are not two separate events necessarily in a sequence when you see yourself through the proper lens. They are one event from two angles. And now that obviously leads directly into, I was talking earlier about making a change within your life and upgrading yourself, leaving behind certain bad habits, right? How this connects to change is very important. If the trauma that built the automated responses that you currently have happened in a past now, right? If the moment that associated a certain stimulus with fear or with pleasure happened in a present moment that's the same as this present moment, then the now is the only place where it happened. Meaning, the trauma is existing in you now, how it's existing in you now. And you have some say over how you are in relationship to that in this moment. You have some say, right? And if the automated response that the trauma built fires in a present now, right? If an impulse, a reaction happens right here in the present moment, then the now is where your responses live. So we have the trauma that happened years ago. If it's active, if something, then it's active now. It was now when it activated the first time, when the event happened. Your relationship to it is now. If you experience an impulse, a reaction, a resurfacing, that happens now. And if a decision to change your relationship to the trauma, if a decision to change your amount of knowledge that you have about the trauma, if that also has to happen potentially in a now moment, then that potential for change also exists only now, right? The now is the site of the trauma, it's the site of the automated response, and it's the site of the change if it happens. All three. Same mechanism, same speed. The trauma didn't happen to a version of you that no longer exists and leave a mark that has to be slowly worked out across years of effort. The trauma happened now, in a now, pardon me. And the change happens in a now, if it happens. That is a structurally identical now in which the original pattern was laid out, which means the change is not slower nor harder than the installation. It's the same speed. When you hear a sound, that sound comes from nothing, right? Let me play a sound real fast. Hold on. Okay, that'll be great. So now let me go to share. Ba, ba, ba. Okay, also share sound. Yes. Okay. Gong sound. You ready? When you hear a sound, oh, I have to add it to the stage. Got you. Okay. Boom. Okay. So listen to this. One more time. When you hear a sound, it comes from nothing. It comes from nothing into meaning all at once. There is no moment where the sound is received and then separately interpreted as a sound, right? And then separately responded to. Those are not three sequential events. They are one event happening at the speed of present consciousness. When you make a choice, whether that choice is made consciously or unconsciously, you make it with your entire being at once, all at once. The whole snake, the whole experience of hearing a sound. What makes change feel slow is not that it is structurally slower than the original pattern. What makes it feel slow is the repetition required to build a new pattern with the same depth of automaticity. When you can make the better choice as automatic as the old choice, that is what it takes time. You heard me, but not another sound. Oh, well, I'm explaining it anyway. I don't know why it's tripping on me. I played the sound of a gong sound. Anyway, so sorry about that, guys. What makes change feel slow is not that it's actually slower. It's that it's the repetition that's required to get the same depth of automaticity. But that's not a difference in kind, right? That's just a practice. The first now in which you choose differently is already complete. The first now moment in which the change in you occurred and was decided on and committed to already happened. That's already a part of the whole you that you're moving from right now, right? What follows is the same change being confirmed across more present moments until the new pattern becomes as natural as the old one was. And this also runs into the other direction. Runs in the other direction, pardon me. Any dip into a worse version of yourself does not happen because the past pulled you back. If it's happening now because the whole of you is doing so. And that also applies collectively. Alan Watts extended the my doing observation in a direction that connects directly in a direction that connects to what we've been examining. You see, natural law and karmic consequence and like the laws that govern the consequences to the moral weight of our actions, or the consequences to our actions in direct proportion to the moral weight of our choices, is not just personal. It also applies collectively to the whole human family and to like a given society. When you extend the karma as my doing framework, right? When you extend the karma is my doing is my karma framework to a group of people, let's say the American people or the residents of any particular community, any collective who shared stories whose shared stories produce shared behaviors, producing a shared condition. You get from life something that is precise and observable. The collective karma of a group is the aggregate of what the group is doing right now, not necessarily a ledger of past sins that are being judged and marked down and weighed on the scale. The present state of consciousness organized around the stories running in the collective inner storyteller about what other people's lives are worth, about what freedom means and who deserves it, about the distance between us and suffering elsewhere, and about what that distance means for our responsibility to create a better world for our children and their children. That present state of consciousness is producing a present reality that is the natural expression of the moral frequency at which the group is currently operating. And I want to be precise about what I mean by moral frequency. I'm not making an absolute or non falsifiable truth claim here. I'm pointing at an observable relationship that I believe the historical record consistently supports. As a society or a group of moral frequency, or a group's moral frequency, pardon me, increases, okay, as a society or groups, moral choices get more aligned with truth and freedom as measured by the fruits of their choices. So does the degree of freedom experienced by that society or by that group. And as the moral frequency decreases, the freedom of the inhabitants of that society becomes more and more restricted, meaning they get less and less free. This, in Mark Passio's work, is called the law of freedom. As the morality of a given society increases, freedom increases proportionately. As it decreases, freedom decreases proportionately, or slavery increases proportionately. And here is the most important part of the observation. The slavers, enslaved to the enslaving of other people, are just as restricted as the slaves. Again, the slavers, enslaved to the enslavement game, are just as restricted as the slaves. Maybe not in the same way, like as far as their bodies aren't being treated the same way, but they are locked into the game, and let's get into it. The slaves enslaved to the enslavers, the slavers enslaved to the enslaving. Both are captured by the arrangement. The person in chains is obviously less free in a material sense. There's no question about that. But the person whose entire existence is organized around the maintenance of domination over another person is also not free. They cannot rest. They cannot trust. They cannot encounter another human being without the story of hierarchy running between them. They cannot exist in genuine relationship. Their consciousness is as captured by the arrangement of the slavery, of the enslavement game, as the person or persons they are holding. They're just captured a lot differently. This is not about collective punishment. This is what low moral frequency actually produces in the consciousness of everyone participating in low moral frequency choices, or making low moral frequency choices, including and perhaps especially the people who appear to benefit from it materially. Freedom is internal first. Freedom is internal first. It's external second. And the internal freedom of a group, the degree to which the people can think clearly, act from genuine choice and autonomy, encounter each other without fear and hierarchy running between, all of their interactions, making their interactions transactional, right? The internal freedom of a group is a direct function of the moral quality of that group's doing. Change the frequency, you change the experience. Not as a punishment, not as a reward, as a direct, natural expression of the consciousness that is this universe. Most people approach self improvement, healing, and change as a project aimed at um, the past. I need to address what something that happened to me that I wanted to talk about in this episode. I almost took my own life. I'll put it like that. I'm trying to think of the YouTube safe way to put things. What happened that solidified some of this lesson for me is that I had an internal experience before I finished the job, so to speak. And that internal experience had me make a choice. And then from making that choice, it was like I could see that it in my most quiet moments, the experience of time is more real. Like when I don't have all of these stories running in my head all the time. And I'm more objective, slowed down, and intentional about my worldview. Somehow, my experience of karma, my experience of my doing and of time and my whole being is more accurate and clear. So when we say, change is a long project that I have to aim at my inner child or I have to aim at the past somehow. When we say I need to work, I need to work through the trauma that caused this behavior, right? I need to accumulate enough good choices to offset the bad ones. Then we are seeing the past as a fixed object that produced damages that need to be repaired in a present which we're trying to fix as an object. That model is the linear time story applied to personal development. And it keeps the person in a relationship with the past as something separate from them that happened to them that they have to overcome, which means the change, right? It's got to happen over a long period of time. But karma, seen for what it really is, my doing, my meaning me as my whole being, including all of my past, including all of my potentials that I'm aware of, my whole awareness, including my thoughts, feelings, and sensations in the present moment, all of that, right? Your automated responses is not your past controlling your present. It is conditioning, but it's not your past controlling your present in the linear sense. They say, excuse me, your automated responses are your present consciousness organizing the past in a particular way right now, you experiencing those thoughts and then making choices. The inner storyteller is not running programs installed by the past. The inner storyteller is the present mechanism by which consciousness organizes everything, right? Memory, meaning, response, simultaneously in story form, which means the examination of one's inner storyteller, the inner storyteller work that we speak of on this channel, calls for us to not focus on excavating the past, digging into the past necessarily, right? It's a present moment shift in how consciousness is organized as a whole. That's why I talk about taking authorship over your life, reclaiming authorship over yourself is the inner storyteller work. A new story that doesn't override the old one through repetition, but through a present moment recognition that the old one is never really true. That it was a pattern, but not a fact. A doing, but doesn't have to be a destiny. That recognition happens instantaneously and causes change all at once. Not across time, but the way that the whole snake moves. All that to say, the change is available now, good people. The change is available right now. Whatever change you want to make, you can do it because the past only exists right now. Potential only exists right now. And you are here only right now. you know? Um, and it's very important to make some decisions regarding what story you are willing to live. And again, that's a story built by, written in the books that we call scripture, meaning if if you base a lot of how you live your life off of religion, that's fine. So long for me, so long as you are not initiating harm, loss, death, or theft, right? As long as you are not initiating violence against other people, if you learn to regulate and move and navigate through this life via uh, religion, but your actual actions do result in the good results, in the good fruits, then awesome. Use religion. That's fine. Usually, the best religionists are not the recruiters, right? The best of the religionists, they are super passionate about when they actually are, in an appropriate moment to go super deep and super great into super heated debate, not heated, but passionate, passion filled debates about minute, small topics about their religion. And also, they're not like, and by the way, if you don't believe what I believe, then you're going to hell. And you really, you really got to think about that. Okay. Uh, I know a couple religionists who don't engage in that type of fear mongering, and I respect them, and I don't try to say anything to them that may turn them away from where they get their meaning. You know what I'm saying? At least not in direct conversation with them that they didn't ask for. If they ask for it, then yeah, we go there. But y'all already know I have one question for you, which is what story are you willing to live? Please let me know in the comments. Leave some comments. Like the video, you know. Click that thumbs up button. Let YouTube know what's happening. Uh uh in these YouTube streets, who to listen to. And yeah, man. I tomorrow I probably won't go live because I am out of town, but I'm gonna make it up somehow, some way, somehow. I might go live on Instagram. Maybe I'll go live from my phone on Instagram. You'll catch me on Instagram at Soul Expression, the at symbol right before Soul Expression, exactly how it's spelled here, and but without the space. And yeah, man. I'll see y'all either tomorrow or Wednesday. Peace and love, always and always.